Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Matt Morizio. He's an entrepreneur, founder of Reconstructing Wealth, and we'll learn from him about his story, how he transformed his relationship with money, and that how reshaped his entire life from business and family to mindset and peace of mind. We'll learn about how we can take or learn from him to take control, build confidence, and create a life that feels truly abundant. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Man, thank you so much. What an introduction, too. It's such an honor to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Matt. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We will
Really
be
cool.
talking about how one can change their relationship with money. We'll talk in this backdrop. But before that, let's talk a bit about your story, your background, your journey, Matt, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Sure. As a child, I was always a baseball player. That actually was my love. I chased that dream. I chased that dream nearly as far as you could take it. I took it till I was about 26, about from 6 to 26, call that 20 years of chasing the dream. I played professionally with the Royals in their minor league system. And I guess those 5 seasons, especially in the professional ranks, really shaped who I am today. But it's funny when you look back, you say, okay, you spent 20 years chasing a dream that you ended up not realizing to the fullest potential because I never made it to the big leagues, what you see on TV. I was in their minor league program. But there's some real learning that happened through that, understanding that it's really about the pursuit. It's not about the destination. So I look at entrepreneurship today as my new sport. I'm the founder of a wealth management firm called Reconstructing Wealth. And I learned the language of money. I learned the game of money by immersion. The same way somebody could go to India to learn the language as opposed to studying it in a book, or go to Spain to learn Spanish and live there. I jumped into the wealth management space eventually after a couple stops on my professional journey post baseball, but I didn't have a background and experience. I wasn't in school for economics. My family's not in this industry. So this was all brand new to me. And I learned the language of money, the game of money by immersion. I jumped into it head first. And I will tell you, as I've learned how the game of money works, my relationship with it has changed. I know we're going to get into that. But on the personal side, I have 7 children of my own. The oldest is 13. The youngest is 2. We have a birthday coming up in a couple of days. So it's a full house. My cup is really full, but it's a lot of joy too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Matt, I want to understand. Means, as a sports person, especially, you know how to fight for your team, fight for yourself if need be. Why is it that one finds it difficult? A lot of young sports people are there in different stages of life. Then they choose different careers. You chose entrepreneurship. As of now, you are doing that. I want to understand, even those, these people who have got great resolve, why is it that they lose that relationship with money as life goes by? Is it because where is the problem? I'm talking about general people. People can say, okay, we are in that circumstance, we cannot. But even with people who have got great resolve, are not into any bad company, still they see their relationship with money not that great. How does it happen? Why does it happen? Where does it all go wrong?
It's a good question. I think it goes wrong because I guess it goes wrong from generation to generation. What ends up happening, in my experience, I've had lots of conversations, at this point, thousands of conversations with people about their money. And I've learned that, well, as a parent myself with children, more is caught than taught. So they catch a lot more than I actually instruct them by observing me. Well, that happens with money. And generationally speaking, my parents, they adopted whatever their parents' relationship was with money, which their parents' relationship with money, if we go back a couple generations, was a Great Depression era parent. So you can understand that if you're in the Great Depression, there's a lot of worry, fear, scarcity, hoarding, and that until you talk about it, until you address it, that gets caught or passed down, however you want to say it, from generation to generation. And because society doesn't allow us to speak about money because it's a taboo topic, nobody really talks about it. Every adult at some point in your adulthood, you're expected to understand how it works. You don't really learn about it in schools. You aren't taught about it in the home. You're not taught about it in the home. But at some point in your adult life, you start to earn a paycheck and you have to understand what taxes are and how to get a mortgage and a loan and insurance and all the things that nobody talks about, but all of a sudden here you are living real life. So I believe where the break in the chain is, or where the break in the chain needs to be, is start with communication. I think if families begin to talk about it, understand that it's not a taboo thing, you can approach the subject and can learn different effective ways to use money. I think that starts to break those generational chains. And it's a real honor for me and my own family and in the lives of the clients I serve. I look at quite literally that opportunity for those conversations to start with that person I'm working with and really break generational chains for the future. So future generations of those families are no longer worried and afraid of money.
Absolutely. So what did you not know earlier on? And later you learned about it. And now you are making that difference in other people's life through reconstructing wealth.
Yes. So I think I heard your question is, did I learn about it and now go and make that difference? Is that what you asked?
Yes, yes. And you didn't know about it earlier on.
And what did you say?
You didn't know about it earlier on. Then you learned about it and now making that difference.
Yes, exactly right. So I didn't know about it when I was playing baseball in the minor leagues, for example. The minor leagues notoriously pay very little bit of money. So I was making $600 every 2 weeks after taxes for about 5 months of the year, and that equates to, in the U.S., that's about $5,000 or $6,000 a year, and it's unsustainable to live on that here. Anyway, I was living well below the U.S. standard of poverty, except I had no credit card debt. I had no real bills to my name. And I had a terrible relationship with money, to be honest. I was financially not making a lot of money, but I was in a fine situation, right? Like I wasn't underwater. I just was figuring it out. Yet I lived in worry and fear and anxiety. Now you fast forward to entrepreneurship, and I have experienced all and then some of those entrepreneurial valleys and the peaks where you're maxed out on everything, your savings is depleted, your mortgages are everything is out there in the name of trying to build something. So financially speaking, there are seasons of this entrepreneurship journey that look on paper worse than when I was only making a few $1,000s a year. The big difference is I have learned a lot more about how the game of money works, and I understand certain levers need to be pulled. Some of the levers are, emergency ones that, if there's an emergency, break the glass here, like they say on those fire things in public places. Anyway, I've broken a lot of glass, put it that way. But there's an emergency that might need to happen, and I learned how that works, and I am less anxious in the grand scheme of things about all of it because now I understand more about how it works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now let's talk about abundance. You talk about abundance. A lot of people talk about abundance. Someone who does not have in your version or others' version, not a good relationship with money, suddenly he or she starts talking about abundance. From a practical point of view, then you are talking about going broke rather than getting more money. How does this, how do you change that thing into abundance and not about a path towards disaster? Help us understand from that practical point, because scarcity cannot just become abundance just by thinking about it.
Yeah, you're very right. I'm not a believer in, well, I take that back. I think that positive language, positive affirmation, I think those are important, but I think without action behind those words, I think your body knows and your mind knows that they're empty words. So you can't all of a sudden trick yourself to say, I'm going to live in abundance now, and I'm going to believe there's plenty of money for everybody, and then plenty out there, and a lot is coming to me, and then sort of just sit and hope and wait, because nothing's going to change. It's the truth. You're right. And one quick point on scarcity versus abundance. I don't think living exclusively in either is a good or bad thing. I think there are areas of my mindset, that scarcity mindset that I've worked hard to overcome. I actually think some of it still serves me, because it does give me this checks and balances in my own life of, is that a useful, fruitful investment for me, or is that just something I'm wasting money on? Like, you can waste money on stuff if you don't have some of that scarcity inside you. So I think both mindsets can serve you. But what I can say is, if you want an image, right? If you want to think of it as an image, it's impossible to give something or to receive something with closed fists. In order to receive something, you need to open your hands to grab it, right? And we live with our money with closed fists, those purely scarcity worried people. And you need to understand that in order for you to start to transition into a world where you recognize, like, I can add value in people's lives, and in exchange for that value I'm adding, they're going to pay me. Your hands do need to open up. You need to release some control. You need to let go of some of that fear and hoarding mentality to say, I know that if I live like this, I cannot receive what I'm trying to receive, because you can't receive something with a closed fist. So understanding that it's not just this flip of a switch where, okay, yesterday I lived in worry and fear, but today I live in abundance and I'm happy. It's a journey, but understanding that money is nothing more than an exchange of value. A long time ago, before the dollars, the actual like paper dollars were a thing, they used to trade salt and gold and coin. I mean, whatever was useful. I'll trade you this many cattle for this much salt, or this spice for this type of animal. And so long as both parties said, yeah, that's a fair, valuable deal for me, I'm willing to do that, there was an exchange. Well, the common exchange today is money, but it's the same concept. So if you think of it, instead of how do I go get more money, and instead think like, where's my unique value in this world, and how do I go lean into that to go serve other people, you start to see money come your way. But it's not because you're chasing the money. It's because you're opening up your hands to say, hey, how can I help you? Here's what I bring to the table. And people start to see that and pay you for that. That's how it works. Money is an exchange of value. It just happens to be that the whole world sees money as a valuable thing. So they use that as the common exchange.
Absolutely, Matt. So when did it all start changing for you? Any particular instance, reason, or one fine morning you just woke up and you said, enough is enough. I should start thinking abundance. I should start thinking changing my relationship with money. Is it like any other relationship, or is it, you need to work towards it?
Like any relationship, it takes work. That's 100% true. It does take work. I would be lying to you if I said I no longer am emotional about money. I'm fully emotionally detached and I feel great every single day of my life. No, there's still human worry and everything that goes along with it, for sure. Two instances come to mind. One, my wife, one day after work, when we only had, we had 4 children at the time. And I was working a lot and I was the sole provider. So I felt like that was my job. I would leave the house, especially if I went to work out, go to the gym in the morning. I would leave the house at, say, 5 a.m., go to the gym, go to my office, and I would work until, I wouldn't get home after the commute back until sometimes 7:30, or later if I went to an event in the evening. And if it was later, I just didn't even see my children that whole day, even though I woke up and went to bed in the same home. And one evening after that went for a while, my wife said to me in our kitchen, I remember, she said, look, I did not sign up to be a single mom. I know you're working to provide, but we've got to figure this out. Like that, this isn't working. And I realized, gosh, I'm just chasing money. I'm chasing the hustle. And I'm not thinking of it in terms of working, having my money work for me as I'm not working, figuring out where my most valuable assets, like what I can really bring to the world, and figure out how I can exchange that. So that really started the journey to say, okay, I can't just chase hustle. That's an unsustainable life, and it's not the one I want. And then so that's one piece of it, shifting on what I was chasing. I'm not chasing the dollar. I'm not chasing hustle. And then the other thing that shifted in me was I gave up control of money. Money had this hold over me. I felt like money, like I could not release the control of it. I worried. I was in constant worry and anxiety about it. And I decided, okay, I am going to give 10% of my money away. That was the number I chose. I'm going to give 10% of my money away, and I'm going to put it in a separate account, and I'm going to commit to it. I had wanted to in the past, and I never did. I went back and forth. But I finally said, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to give 10% away. I'm opening a separate account. Every time I get paid, I'm going to wire it into that account so I don't even see it, and that account is used for other people. And when I did that, that's that whole closed hand to open hand sort of feeling, is that I recognized that psychologically speaking, when I had that thing that was gripping me and I couldn't let go, it had its grips on me. And then I willingly and intentionally said, I am no longer going to keep this. I'm intentionally giving some of it away. It released its hold on me, because psychologically, I can't both want to hoard and give away the same thing at the same time. So that really started to change my relationship with money. So those are really a couple practical examples of how my journey evolved, where I went from worry and fear, anxiety, call it scarcity, to more free, more abundance. I think it's more understanding how it works more than I didn't understand before.
Right. But doesn't it need also change on the ground? Or does that thinking itself will bring that change, or change will bring the change, that thinking, or the thinking will bring that change? How does it work, Matt?
Well, I can tell you this, that you will never outgrow your own identity. So if you aren't already living mentally, emotionally into that bigger version of you, you won't grow past it. So I think actually the thinking, the believing has to happen first. And then the learning, the knowledge, the understanding has to follow, so that once you get that money, you know what you're going to do with it. And then actually to me, the third step is the action, the actual money. You do, but it's a necessary step. Don't miss it. You really do need to go put the feet on the ground and get to work. But the direction you're taking might look different. How you're going about it might look different. Like for me, 12, 14 plus hour days was unsustainable, and that's not the direction I wanted to go anymore. So I needed to pursue something that I could, while I wasn't in the office working, my money was still growing and working for me. Entrepreneurship, building a business can do that for you. So how I went about it was different. But think about, I don't know the actual statistic, but how many lottery winners win the lottery and then lose a lot of their money? To me, it's because they didn't have the identity of a wealthy person. They didn't believe that about themselves, nor did they have the knowledge and the skill set to know what to do with the money when they got it. So that bam, they all of a sudden found this windfall of millions of dollars, and they said, I don't know what here. So what happens is subconsciously, your body sort of chases what it knows and what is comfortable, and all the money goes away, and you revert back to what you know and what you're comfortable doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about faith? Does faith come at all in between you and money? How does that work? Some people pray to God, they get money. Lots of people keep praying to God, they never get money. Some people who destroy the world, they have lots of money. You know, some people who are working for the planet, they do not have money. How does it all work, Matt?
Man, that's a good question. Well, for me, I'm a Christian. My faith for me is foundational to the decisions I make in my life. And it's because I've just seen everything that I leaned into fail me. It's one way, shape. Like baseball was my love and that was my passion. And all of a sudden that doesn't exist. My wife, I love her. She's my best friend. We've been married 14 years, but she's human and she will let me down in certain times. Like that's just normal. But my faith won't. So that it really becomes my guiding decision maker too. Like my guiding principles of where I'm going. Faith for sure is foundational. And I don't think you can just pray for money and get a bunch of it. I don't think that that's part of it. I do think that if you pray for God's plan to unfold in your life, and then you obediently take what feel like probably scary faith-filled steps, then however your life is designed to unfold will. Mother Teresa is a good example. She lived to serve the impoverished people. She didn't necessarily go and earn a bunch of money. And if she did, she gave it away. But Mother Teresa, what she built and put together, she raised tens of millions of dollars, if not more. I think she did fly on private jets and everything too. Like she didn't have a big fat bank account, but she was living into her calling, what she really felt like she was put on this earth to do. And there was a whole lot of money that followed her. So I don't know that, I don't believe that you can pray for a lot of money and get a lot of money. I don't think that that's how that works. But I think you can pray for guidance and your next step. And then as you faithfully and obediently do take those steps, I do believe that each of us are called to do something great on this earth with our lives. And I do think we're supposed to do it in the service of others. And I recognize that if we are constantly living in this place of lack where we can't even cover our own bills, we can't quite feed our own family, we're always at this like, bumping up against the ceiling of our lives, then we cannot go and, in my opinion, go and fully live into who we're created to be, because we're constantly living in this place of lack. So I do think that if we do take these faithful, obedient steps, whatever that direction, whatever that path looks like, I think that at some point you overcome the day-to-day, paycheck to paycheck, and then go and pour into other people and what you're capable of doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, how do you tell your kids about money? Means, if you tell them about abundance, then they will spend a lot of it, and if you tell them about scarcity, then it will become difficult for them in later life. It will be a part of their being. How do you tell your kids about? What do you tell?
That's so good. Well, first of all, what we do is we talk about it. We homeschool our children. So when you homeschool, you can kind of curate your curriculum how you want. So we have what's called Money Mondays pretty often. And it sometimes doesn't happen on a Monday. It always was on a Monday. And then their sports schedule sort of changed and we had to do it on a different day, but we kept the title Money Monday. And basically what I do is I teach them everything I wish I knew at their age. And in the conversations that we're having about money, we're talking about debt and interest rates and loans and investments and building businesses and earning money. And how do you go about it? Like in all of that, I am demystifying how it all works. And I'm also, without them even ever having any predispositions about finances and rich people or anything like that, they are speaking about it so matter-of-factly that it doesn't have an allure about it. It's just this thing that makes the world go round that you have to earn. So I teach them how it works more than I teach them abundance versus scarcity, because I think that that's probably going to come. That's a little bit of a next level mindset. But I think in knowing, if I do this, people pay me for it, like mowing lawns, walking dogs. That's how kind of some of the stuff they do now. I tell them, you're not going to chase the dollar. You're going to say, hey, you have a problem, I can solve it. You need your dog walked, and I can walk the dog. And I'll charge you $10 for a dog walk. And your hourly rate, if you did it out at your job, is $50 an hour. So it's clearly a good deal. Like I speak to them in those terms, and they realize like, oh yeah, I can do things to help people, and it will be worth whatever they pay me, because they can go and make more money doing other things, or they are in a bind, or they're on vacation and they can't do it, and that's valuable to have somebody there. And they recognize like if they can provide value to people and take something off their plate, solve a problem in their life, they're going to get paid for it. And I teach them that much more than I say like, don't try to hoard this. Make sure you believe that there's a lot of it out there. And I teach them more like how the game works, without making it seem like it's a really difficult thing to do, because at the end of the day, that's business. You solve somebody's problem and get paid to do it. That's business in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's much to learn about all this from you, Matt. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more from you, about reconstructing wealth. What's the best way for them to do so?
Oh, thanks for asking me. Yes, if somebody heard this and wants to learn more, the best way to go about it is find me on Instagram. It's just my name, at Matt Morizio, and send me a DM that you heard on this podcast, and I will send you a link to a free course I created. It costs you an email address. That's it. But it's about a 3-part video series, maybe 6 to 8 minutes, on a lot of this scarcity to abundance. But then there's some nuts and bolts, like practical money tips in there. But I'll be happy to send it to you. Find me on Instagram, at Matt Morizio. Follow me, send me a link, and a DM, and I'll send you the link. And my website too, if you want to check it out, is exactly that, reconstructingwealth.com. Those are probably the best places to find me online.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much.